I'll call this meeting to order on Monday, April 15th, my least favorite day of the year. I always get an extension on this day, so very glad to have with us tonight a bunch of folks here from Campbell High School. We're doing something a little different tonight. We're going to have the presentation of colors by the Campbell High School Junior ROTC Color Guard. They're going to present the colors first. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have the invocation by Lee Delbridge of the Smyrna Christian Church. So what we'll do, I think, is do the colors first, place the flag. I'm not sure if the head man in the back wants to introduce them first, or we can do that. Okay. You want to introduce?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please stand for the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. Ladies and gentlemen, place your right hand over your heart and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated.
Thank y'all very much. I think that's the first time that we've ever had an event like this. Got a couple things on the, we have a proclamation, but I'm going to go to recognition of the Campbell High School Junior ROTC Cadet State Drill Competition winners, because we got so many of them here, and we've got, not sure who's doing that. I'm going to, Tim Gould. This is some of his, he's so dedicated to the schools. Every week we have somebody from a school, which is great. We have a great relationship with our school. I think I saw Dr. Jean Walker somewhere. Oh, she's over there, first in line. Hey, Dr. Walker, how's it going? Good. Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hey, there's something great to talk about every week about the high school and the schools here in Smyrna, right? It's one of our greatest assets for the city. So, JROTC, thanks very much for being here. And so, just a little background, the JROTC is the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. It's a national program aimed at helping high school students develop leadership skills, student achievement, physical fitness, and becoming overall better citizens. The Campbell High School JROTC was established in 1972 at the original Campbell High School. The Spartan Battalion includes a drill team, rifle team, the Raiders team, and of course the Color Guard. Leadership of the battalion is Lieutenant Colonel Michael Halsey, First Sergeant Catherine Burns, Sergeant First Class Willie Powell. And they recently competed in the state championships for JROTC and did great. Do you want to come up and recognize the folks that competed in the tournament, if that's what you call it? Do you guys want to?
Competition.
Competition, sorry.
Don't be afraid.
Come on up.
There's more of y'all than there is of us.
You guys did all the work. Least you could do is get some recognition.
Yeah.
Now, the Corps is large. It's a very long list of everybody that participates, but we'll acknowledge the folks that competed and did well. So, the female armed squad, commanded by Valerie Cruz. These folks all placed in the competition. Female squad exhibition, commanded by Daniela Palacios. Male unarmed platoon, commanded by Brian Garcia. Female armed platoon, commanded by Danielle Palacios. Male color guard, commanded by Luke Lunsford. Unarmed knockout by Alex Lynn, and unarmed knockout by Gustavo, Muscadu Zuma. So let's give a big round of applause to these folks who are dedicated.
I don't know if Dr. Walker wants to say anything or not, or is you just here for just pictures? She's so supportive. You see Dr. Walker at just about every event, which I don't know how she does it, whether it be ROTC or whether it's baseball or soccer or lacrosse. She spends a lot of time at that school. So I did too. I just never got past the 11th grade. Anything else you want to?
No, and thanks. Hey, for the
Yes.
cadets that participate, thanks so much for your time and leadership. And I think First Sergeant would like to say something.
So good evening.
Good evening.
I'm First Sergeant Burns, and my cohort, Sergeant Powell and Colonel Halsey. I'd just like to say that a lot of times we hear so many, not so nice things about teenagers, about what they're not accomplishing. But this is an example of teenagers accomplishing great things. So they come in every morning and practice at 7:10 until 8. And they also won first place in the tri-area Atlanta competition out of all the teams. So they are dedicated. They are our future. And they're an example of what we have to look forward to. We always hear the negative, and we cannot be the positive. And I can't tell you how proud I am of these young men and women. And they represent us well. And I want you to know that they represent our school and your community. So please.
If you ever get by a Campbell High School football game, I know they're there during those events, and they've always been so polite. Most of them didn't know who I was, I don't think. But they've been so polite and just very well-mannered, and we thank y'all for everything y'all are doing, and our future leaders. So they're a good deal. Proclamation in recognition of the 35th anniversary of the Dirt Cheap Music, are those folks here from Dirt Cheap Music. That is come on forward. I'm going to get Susan Wilkinson to read that proclamation and present it to you. They've been in business for 35 years. If you don't know where they're at, they're on the corner of Windy Hill and South Cobb Drive. They're go up here. The blue building with yellow trim with the chicken on the side of it, right there. So Susan Wilkinson, will you read the proclamation and present that to them?
Okay, thank you, and I'm proud to have this business located in Ward 5 of Smyrna, and this is a proclamation by the mayor of the city of Smyrna in recognition of 35 years of Dirt Cheap Music. Whereas, after teaching college and touring Professionally, nationwide, John Rathbone started Dirt Cheap Music in 1984 at the corner of Burbank Circle and Cherokee Street, now Windy Hill Road, then a two-lane road running from Atlanta Road to South Cobb Drive. He moved the store to its current location at Windy Hill Road and South Cobb Drive in August 1991. And whereas at the time there were a total of 5 music stores operating within a half-mile of each other on Windy Hill Road, and now there is only one. Today, John's son, Aaron Rathbone, is the owner and president of Dirt Cheap Music and their new professional services division, DCPRO, which offers sound, video, and lighting systems for local governments, educational institutions, sports facilities, houses of worship, and community spaces and events. Aaron purchased the company in 2012 after a post-college career managing songwriters and pitching radio singles for BMG Publishing on Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee. And whereas for a generation now, Smyrna residents have enjoyed Dirt Cheap's purposeful modest focus on providing quality audio equipment and musical instruments at prices below national chains. The staff comprises of former producers, engineers, tour technicians, performers, publishers, and composers, and because of their professional backgrounds, the staff at Dirt Cheap Music offers residents tailored, trustworthy advice built on 35 years of experience and expertise. And whereas, as the company states, our reputation is built on providing customers with the best value for the lowest price. Our selection of top name brand instruments and equipment will bring you in, but it's our people, personality, and prices that will bring you back. Now, therefore, I, A. Max Bacon, Mayor of the City of Smyrna, Georgia, on behalf of the thousands of customers who have enjoyed Dirt Cheap Music, do hereby extend congratulations on their 35th anniversary with best wishes for many years to come.
Congratulations. I'm going to get one quick picture of y'all, and then if anybody's been in business for this long, 35 years is a long time. Did you get your dad to retire? You can't. No, he ain't going to retire. Yeah. 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 Thank y'all very much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
B, under the mayoral report is recognition of Smyrna Basketball Association's 2019 championship teams, boys 8 and under, 10 and under, 12 and under, and girls 12 and under. I think Ms. Wilkerson has that. There's someone here from the Smyrna organization. Want to make sure that either Curtis Parker or Jason Davis or Chris Robinson or someone from the basketball. Don't be afraid.
Gordon, you want to come on up?
Anyways, this is Susan Wilkerson. She's chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee. I think she's going to read a couple things and go from there, and then we'll recognize these young men and women.
Thank you. For many of us who don't know, Smyrna Basketball Association is one of the under-the-radar gems of our city. The SBA is a very well-run, completely volunteer organization serving hundreds of kids each year. The league is great for beginners all the way up to very competitive, talented players. One of the highlights of the season is the great year-end award ceremony in the big gym at the community center, honoring all of the players, the league champions, and most importantly, the academic awards. One of the mottos of the SBA is Books, Beef for Baskets. To reinforce the important message of academic achievement, each player, fourth grade and up, with a 3.5 grade point average is honored with a very large trophy. Thanks to Gordon Ross, to his dedicated board of directors, and all of the volunteers who help make the league a success for our city and our kids. And then with that, I'm going to also read the background from the city. It's SBA boys teams, 8U, 10U, and 12U competed at the GRPA District 5 tournament at Lake Point facility in Emerson on February 16th through the 21st. The 3 Smyrna teams swept the championships to become district champs, and the 8U team went on to win the state championship held March 1st and 2nd in Spalding County. The 10U and 12U boys placed third in the state tournament. The 8U and 10U boys teams also won county, and the 12U boys were runners-up. The 8U boys did not lose a game during the entire postseason. In addition, the SBA girls team, 12U, defeated South Cobb to win the Cobb Championship and finished third at the state championship in Savannah. The 8U boys coaches are Coach Curtis Parker, Assistant Coach Kurt Martin, Assistant Coach Jabbar Dozier, Team Parent Marissa Dodson, and the players are Evan Adams, Will Bracken, Harrison Byers,
Get them to come up.
Aaron Coutain, Aaron Dodson, Blake Dozier, Broderick Harrell, Marshall Hood, Austin Lipscomb, Tanner Morgan, Brandon Parker, Cal Peterson, and James Rawls.
Mayor, could I ask approximately how many teams do y'all run through this program?
Annually, each season we have approximately 52 teams.
With how many boys?
About 42 of those
And
are boys
girls.
teams.
Boys and girls, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No, I
52
mean, how many
players.
How many young men and young women?
About 520.
Wow.
I've always been a proponent of us providing the facilities in some way. And if the city had to pay for, in my opinion, if the city had to pay for what y'all do, it'd cost you probably 4 or 5 times what y'all charge for registration fee. So we appreciate all the effort that the parents, the volunteers, and of course the kids are great. I coached a 7 and 8-year-old team. And luckily, for 2 years that I coached it, I got the #1 pick, a kid named Eric Howard. And we had 3 plays, Eric to the left, Eric to the right, Eric up the middle. And we were undefeated 2 years until he fouled out in the last game. And then we got beat by 27 points. So it was the coaching. But it's a great organization. That's a long time ago. It's a great organization. So we thank y'all. Are there some more kids that we're going to recognize?
Yes, there are. There's the 10U boys with Coach Jason Davis, Assistant Coach Ray Whitty, and the players are Israel Berry, Nahima Cupid, Elijah Davis, Camden Davis, Xavier Hardy, Miles Nobles, Anthony Phillips, Evan Reed, Miles Russell, Musa Sangair, Owen Summers, Kinston Whitty, and Braden Williamson.
So this is the 10, it's 10 and under, right? Correct. That was 8. They're getting a little taller. And the next, is the next 12 and under?
Yes, the next is the 12 and under boys, Coach Chris Robinson, Assistant Coach Kelly Robinson, Assistant Coach Adam Callaway, Assistant Coach Van Nelson, and the team parent Ursula Robinson. The players are Lewis Bates, Gavin Byers, Boomer Dunn, Jordan Edwards, Jalen Hereford, Daniel James, Cooper Mitchell, Sharif Mosley, Seaton Oki, Joseph Oliver, Nicholas Oliver, Julian Orman, Emery Robertson, Caleb Sadler, and Deacon Smith.
And we got some girls. As you can
Yes.
see, the older the kids get, you can't
Yes,
get
I'm
them
gonna
here,
let,
can you? They're doing other things.
Tim Gould is going to announce the girls' team.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm proudly loved announcing this team. A ton of fun to watch this year with Coach Ashley and Jonathan Bush, who did just really an outstanding job. Some of the girls aren't here tonight because of high school commitments for soccer and lacrosse, but whoever's here, come on up, please. So it's Coach Ashley Bush and Assistant Coach Jonathan Bush. Debatable who was the assistant and who was the head. Let's players: Hayden Bush, Abigail Gould, Nicole Knight, Rachel Knight, Lauren Lamphere, Molly McCarver, Malaya Yost, and Audrey Young. And these folks played great all year.
Is that it?
That is it. These guys did great.
Yeah,
Played
we
well all
appre-
year. Thanks, Coach Bushes. You guys were wonderful coaches.
We
Thanks
appreciate
very much.
all SAA does for our city and our community, and congratulations to the girls. And girls are getting tall, aren't they? Yeah. Now, which is, Tim, is your daughter here, or she's?
Abby's got a lacrosse game at Lassiter today, so she's not here.
Good deal. Congratulations, girl. Y'all are definitely the best looking, the other guys. Congratulations, and thanks for the parents that are here and family. Thank you.
Yeah, and Mayor, I just want to say thanks very much for the support that the city gives to the program.
Good deal. Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all. All right, have I missed anything? Is there anybody else we need to recognize? Are you going to? Tim, is there anything else we need to recognize? Anybody else that's needs
Campbell
to
High
be
School.
recognized? Is that it? What is it? Oh, yes, right. Yep, sorry. Campbell High School School Council Report, Tim Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we know, the high school, led by Dr. Walker and Josh Ford and some dedicated parents, continue to do great work to help our schools grow and serve our residents and serve our students. And tonight, there's some folks from the Campbell High School Council, which is a parent-led organization at the high school that advocates for the school, for the teachers, and for the kids. And then also Dr. Walker and Josh Ford, are here to acknowledge the city's participation in a new program, which I'll let them explain. So if Tony and El Michael could come on up, we'd appreciate that. And then we'll follow with Dr. Walker and Josh Ford.
Well, we just came tonight basically to say thank you to the mayor and the council and the community for all the support. This is my 4th year at Campbell, and it really, really, truly has made a difference in the school and what we're able to do. Whenever we interview candidates who are now coming to us, asking to be in Smyrna, they know this is a great community and they want to raise their families here. We tell them about the special relationship we have with the city and what a difference it makes in our school. There's no other school that enjoys this kind of relationship and this kind of support day in and day out. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I think Mr. Waybite's going to read, or no, I didn't have anything. Oh, Michael.
Falling apart already. So tonight was a great example of everything that the city does recognizing the schools and the youth in the community. And we thought it would be appropriate to perhaps turn the tables a little bit and recognize you for everything that you do. So anyone that is an employee or staff member of the city, if you would please stand. We see your badges, we know. Council members, Mayor, can we get you out of the chair also? So we have a proclamation here tonight in recognition of outstanding leadership and effort in support of Campbell High School. Whereas the city of Smyrna generously arranges use of the community center, Taylor Bronner, Latanzi Field, and numerous other parks and facilities by Campbell High School staff and students. And whereas every hour of effort by department head to the newest employee to elected and appointed officials, no matter how indirect, allows Campbell High School staff and volunteers to focus time and money on our students. And whereas the city of Smyrna continually focuses attention on education through the Smyrna Strategic Vision Plan, the State of the City Address, the Mayor's Education Awards, and other public presentations such as tonight. And whereas your leadership by example generates tremendous support from many other businesses and civic religious groups, and whereas the city of Smyrna's actions to support and embrace Campbell High School benefit not just the current staff and students, but students at every grade level in the Campbell High School feeder pattern, and whereas the efforts of the mayor, city council, administration, and every employee of the city of Smyrna benefits the residents of the city and the greater Smyrna community, now therefore, the Campbell High School Council recognizes, applauds, and says thank you to the mayor, city, council, administration, and every employee of the city for their leadership, service, and dedication to making Campbell High School the rock and foundation for building excellence in the educational opportunities for the greater Smyrna community. Thank you.
Y'all want to get a picture with me? Don't be pointing around like that.
Thank you for everything you do.
What are we gonna do? What are we doing?
Get a little photo here.
A little photo?
I'll go to the back.
Come out this way a little bit, Mayor.
Let's get this
You act like you've done this before, sir.
Just in front of me. I don't look at. Y'all can gather around.
Hey,
Come on.
guys. On for you.
Do it.
1, 2, 3.
That's it. I'm done.
Thank you.
Yeah, it'd be great. Thank you. I'm Joshua Ford. I'm an assistant principal at Campbell. This is my second year at Campbell, which this year has been a very remarkable year, and I want to personally thank the mayor, city manager, council, and as well as Ashley Scott, you're here, and other administration. But we have started a Campbell High School Business Recognition Program through our business partnerships, and we've had about 7 meetings this year. And the last final meeting we had was this past Wednesday on the 10th. We've partnered with the Georgia Army National Guard, and the city of Smyrna is the first sponsor of this program for, the whole thing is recognizing Teachers of the Month programs, Teacher of the Year, Students of the Month of the Year, as well as businesses and community relations. So the resources they're providing us with the career pathways our students are involved with, they showcase their skills during these meetings where businesses come, local business from the Smyrna area. And we have, the city of Smyrna has been the first sponsor for the May Teacher of the Month, which is Teacher as Inspiration. So you guys are kicking this off for us. This is a big deal. They're creating a marketing video for it, and it's going to go to the highest level. So I think the awareness that's being brought to the city, to Campbell High School, local businesses is it's going to be remarkable to see how it evolves if we just keep our foot on the pedal. So I appreciate all of you. It's been a remarkable relationship experience, and I look
I would
forward
say
to
this, that's probably 100% Tim Gould's and he needs to go down and get that. I've never seen a elected official that's been on board so much with the schools and supporting Campbell High School, and it's almost his emphasis is so focused on that he misses out on some of the other issues. But no, I'm just kidding.
My daughter's there. I have to keep an eye on her. That's the only way I can hang around.
He's very good. If you go down and get that, and he got a haircut just for this.
But this has got to be displayed in City Hall somewhere where the whole public sees it.
Yes.
So that was the deal with the guard.
Josh, thanks so much for all the hard work you do. It's really
Yep.
great. Take care. Josh, you can't leave me by myself.
Sorry.
On 3, 1, 2, 3.
Thank y'all so much. And
Thank you.
I've said this before that what drives our community is really our schools, and I really hope that we continue the relationship with Campbell High School and all the other schools, because it means a lot to us that that we support our schools. It's our future. It's our hope. And I mean, you saw a lot of it tonight. The ROTC kids and the basketball and dirt cheap music, and but we appreciate all y'all do, and we enjoy our relationship with Campbell. We host an event every year for the teachers when they're coming back, and we give them, the varsity caters it, and we send them back to school after we feed them. And it's been a great relationship. So thank y'all so much. All right, let's see, where are we? That concludes the mayoral report. That's the longest I think that it's ever been, 34 minutes. Item 4, land issue zonings and annexation. Item A, 2019-98, public hearing. Request for a change to the 2040 future land use plan in the Williams Park neighborhood, City of Smyrna Community Development Department. Ms. Tammy Sadler-Jones, the background, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. The 2040 Future Land Use Plan changed a small portion or parcel in the Williams Park neighborhood from moderate density residential to mixed use. Upon conclusion of the zoning request, some residents of the Williams Park neighborhood petitioned the city to change the mixed-use area back to moderate density residential. The mayor and council directed the community development staff to review the requested change and provide a recommendation. Community development has reviewed the request of the residents, and a community meeting was also held. And our community development staff is recommending changing the subject area of the 2040 future land use map from mixed use to moderate density residential. And Rusty Martin is going to give more information on this agenda item.
This is a public hearing, and we'll get public comment after Rusty makes his, let him make his presentation, then if anybody wants to make a comment, then we'll go from there.
Ms. Sadler-Jones did an excellent job of summarizing it. I'll walk you through the property and show you the area that we're proposing a change to. This is the future, or this is a zoning map of the subject area. All the parcels that are identified in this change are highlighted with a blue outline. So the subject area runs from Alexander Street to Foster Street, to the south end of Elizabeth Street, all the way over to the south end of Anderson Circle, and this is all south of Spring Street. The total acreage for this property is almost 12 acres. It's 11.9. There's a mixture of single-family homes there, some commercial and some industrial. Looking at this zoning map, you'll see 7.4 acres is zoned single family, 2.13 is limited commercial, and 2.29 is industrial. The industrial is the purple property, the commercial is the red hatch property, and then the single family is the yellow and green property. With this future land use change that the neighborhood is requesting, they're requesting to change the city's 2040 future land use map for this area from mixed use to moderate density residential, which is single-family development up to 4.5 units per acre. And you can see the area highlighted above. So essentially the blue outlined properties will change to the yellow color that borders to the north and to the east. Here's some pictures of the area. You got the church property at Spring Street. Then you have a upper left-hand picture is a picture of Alexander Street looking back towards Spring Street. Lower left is Elizabeth Street as you look south towards Spring Road. And then lower right is a picture from Anderson Circle. Community Development is recommending the change of the subject area from mixed use to moderate density residential in the future land use map. We had an open house and we had about 36 participants, 33 voted for the change and 3 voted to maintain it as mixed use. So there was pretty good consensus within the community that the area needed to change. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Any questions of Mr. Martin? This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to make any public comment concerning this issue? Need to come forward and be sworn in, Mr. Cochran?
Thank you.
Everybody in at one time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait a minute, here comes another one.
I'll tell extra truth.
All right, is that it?
All right, if you just, in any particular order, tell us who you are and where you live and any comments that you'd like to make.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lemuel Ward, I live at 1496 Spring Street, which is about 2 lots over from where the land use change will start. First, I want to thank the staff for their excellent job in having the public meeting, as well as all the work they did to do that, and to our council member for supporting us in this. I thought it might be useful if I gave the current council some history of what it was here. When we asked for moderate density residential to be created, it was because the only choices at that time were 0 to 3 or 3 to 6. 6 was a little too dense, and 3 didn't really give folks the amount of room to develop successfully, given the lot sizes and configurations. RAD zoning was often used and requested right at the top of that density level. By requesting the change to be made to 4.5, we wanted to come down a little bit and allow those lot configurations to be used. And as you know, Williams Park, since that time, has been quite successful in attracting development. When we discovered this was this was made in 2017, we simply made a request because our experience showed us that higher density in this area is going to be a problem because of the limited infrastructure to support the streets. What your future land use map and your future land lease plan tell us is that the goal of the moderate density residential, the goal of all residential land uses, is to protect the neighborhood character. And the goal of mixed use, obviously, is to encourage mixed use. We believe that in this particular part of the Spring Street corridor, the use of mixed use will not encourage either. What will end up is that only mixed use, the mixed use land use designation will be used to increase the density above what moderate density would allow, and it's unlikely to result in mixed use simply because the infrastructure won't support it. So we're asking for your support. Again, we want to thank the staff and the council for their kind attention, and we appreciate the opportunity. And I'll let my neighbors begin to share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Keith Bentley. I live on Gilbert Street in Williams Park. I wanted to be brief, but I just wanted to support the proposed change. The subject property we're talking about here is the last large It's not undeveloped, but it's underdeveloped parcel in Williams Park. There's a lot of sort of vacant property there. Most of that property is currently owned by a small Baptist church. We know that real estate over in our neighborhood is valuable, and one day it'll be redeveloped. When that day comes, we want it to be developed consistent with the character of the existing neighborhood, the great majority of which is medium-density residential. Thank you.
Anyone else that was sworn in?
My name is Ron Davis. I live on Roswell Street. I'll echo what Lem and Keith said, but reiterate that years ago, as we were developing and redeveloping our neighborhood in the early stages, we had developers coming in, and they were trying to take advantage of the medium density category of 3 to 6, as Lem mentioned. And they were in fact coming in at 6 and up to, in one case, 7.5 units per acre, wanting to develop to that density in our neighborhood. So we came to this organization, the mayor and council, and negotiated over almost a year's period to get a new land use plan category for our neighborhood to give us more flexibility. We wanted 4 units per acre, but we negotiated and were successful in getting the 4.5 category for our neighborhood and other neighborhoods, older neighborhoods. I think the Smyrna neighborhood was included. And we've been successful in working with developers over this period of time, trying to maintain the 4.5 max, which equates to just less than a 10,000 square foot lot. And the city staff and council has been very, very good in working with us to hold to that line. And this is not a negative comment by any means, but I used to be president of the neighborhood, and we've heard the mayor say that anything that happens here in the city, we know about it. We didn't know about this change. It didn't get communicated out to the neighborhood. Had it been communicated out, we would have been involved during the process and perhaps would not need to be here tonight. So we appreciate what you've done for our neighborhood in the past, and we hope that you'll support this effort here tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Casey Clavin. I live on Roswell Street in Williams Park in Smyrna. I just want to reiterate and say thank you to the city for working with us on this. There are a lot of instances in which there are zoning changes within the neighborhood, and many times our neighborhood group is butting heads with city staff, and we don't like to do that, but we will when we have to. It's always nice to have an opportunity to actually work with city staff and mayor and council and planning and zoning on something. When you look at that map overall, and you see Jonquil Plaza, or Jonquil, which is mixed use, and you see this property within Williams Park, which was changed to mixed use in 2017. It makes sense because it's a larger area of mixed use, and mixed use always works better if you can incorporate a larger property or additional properties to that. In this case, however, the railroad runs right through there, and so where it makes sense on one level to have some of the properties within Williams Park mixed use, due to the fact that there's the railroad and the resulting traffic issues, it really makes very little sense for there to be mixed use or higher density residential, which is probably the type of use that mixed use property would end up getting in the long run. So anyway, just thanks you guys. It's nice to be working with you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Was that the last? All right. Miss Marilyn Blackburn, this is in her district. Ms.
Yes,
Blackburn.
it is. Yes, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. First of all, I want to say thank you to Williams Park for coming out and especially attending the meeting where it was 36 plus of you there, which was great. I spend a great deal of time over in Williams Park walking through the area and, of course, visiting with many of you. And I must say, I commend you for how much time and effort you put into taking care of your community and the quaint community. I really do love it over there. So I also just want to echo what Mr. Bentley said. I think that what this is going to help do is to continue to maintain the consistency of the character that is in the Williams Park area. So, and I just thank the community for being united and coming together on this and working with our staff. And you worked so well together. So, and with that, Mayor, I would like to move to approve item 4A, 2019-98, a request for a change to the 2040 future land use plan in the Williams Park neighborhood, City of Smyrna Community Development Department.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this change in the future land use plan. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 6-0. Just for the record, Ms. Bluestein is not here tonight. She wasn't feeling well. So, item B under land issue zonings and annexation, B 2019-89, public hearing zoning request Z19-004, rezoning from RM10 to RAD conditional for the construction of 2 single-family homes at a density of 5.71 units per acre, 0.35 acres, land lot 593 at 1601 Walker Street. M. Younger is the Holmes is the applicant. I think he's here somewhere. Okay. Miss Tammy Sadler Jones, the background, please.
M. Younger Homes LLC is requesting a rezoning from RM10 to RDA conditional for the development of 2 single-family detached residents at a density of 5.71 units per acre. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing duplex and then subdivide the parcels into 2 lots and construct 2 individual homes. The Planning and Zoning Commission Board, heard this agenda item on March the 11th, and it was approved by a vote of 7-0. Community Development recommends approval of the rezoning from RM10 to RDA conditional for the development of 2 single-family units with conditions, and I think Ken Sudreth is going to provide additional information on this particular item.
Thank you. The additional information is just more of the detail. Ms. Sadler Jones has given what the outcome is. This is really a fairly simple request. The densities don't change. There's a duplex on this property. And when it's finished, if you approve this, you'll have 2 freestanding detached individual units there. You can see the subject property is shaded purple, but it also has a blue line around it. That's the area that we're talking about. So there is 1 duplex on this lot now. So from a future land use plan, there's no change needed. We have medium density now, and we'll continue medium density in the future with this. Here's the proposed site plan showing the lot to be split and the 2 homes. You have a front setback of 25 feet, your side is 7.5, and your rear is 30 feet. They'll have individual storm water detention facilities in the rear of each property. And then you have the 5-foot sidewalk with a 2-foot grass buffer that will be built and the 50-foot right-of-way. These are examples of the home elevation for Lot A and Lot B. And this is the duplex that exists out there today. and then pictures of adjacent properties. Mr. Younger has developed in the area before with similar requests, so he's known both to staff as well as the neighborhood, and he lives in the area as well. So staff's recommendation, as well as the Planning Commission, is to approve this request from RM10 to RDA conditional for the two detached single-family units with the following conditions. Again, we have the standard conditions that we always go through, but they consist of, the building material for the composition of the homes, all the utilities have to be underground. They're responsible for any traffic improvements that may be needed. No debris can be buried. They have to follow the tree ordinance. They have to submit landscaping plans. Their common areas have to be sodded. And then there's, again, back to our tree ordinance, there's a minimum requirement dealing with single-family development. The specific conditions, meaning to this zoning request itself, are the setbacks that I had already referenced, front 25, side 7.5, and rear is 30. Driveway is 22 feet, which is a standard requirement for us. That the right-of-way would be increased to 50 feet. Therefore, there's a 10-foot dedication involved with this request. Also, the 5-foot sidewalk and 2-foot grass buffer, which we referenced earlier. Maximum height of 35 feet. They got to meet all fire access requirements, water and sewer improvements requirements, stormwater improvements as dictated by either the Public Works Director or the city engineer. With that, I will leave you with the proposed site plan and say that, again, staff and Planning Commission have recommended approval of this request. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Sudworth? We'll stand by over there. This is a public hearing. I know the applicant's here if you want to step forward. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that's in opposition to or that would like to make any public comment concerning this rezoning issue? All right, anyone that wants to speak for or against or just make any comments, please step forward. I'd like to get you sworn in all at one time. That wasn't a pat on the back, I'll tell you. All right. This is in Ms. Blackburn's district. Ms. Blackburn.
Well,
Thank you, Mayor. Well, hello there, Mr. Younger. It's great that you're here. You want to tell us a little bit more about the project that you're doing, and I'm particularly interested in the price point as well.
sure. I've been living on Walker Street for, 10 years now. We started, I can't even remember, before the housing downturn. This was probably 10, I'm not sure how many houses now. I think it's 11 and 12 house we've done on Walker Street, all developed, starting with those, cedar duplexes that were pictured there. I guess originally they had all been like that. And, I just, when I started my career, I was working kind of all over in Atlanta, but I've kind of liked working with the city of Smyrna, and I like the policies that they set forth with redeveloping these lots, and I've kind of found, I've been able to make a difference on that street, and I live on the street, so I've also bought some other property on the street that I'll probably be coming up here again next month, doing the same thing. But so this one is just kind of basically being redeveloped the same way we've done all the other ones. But price point, probably the last houses to sell over there that I did were in the mid 7s, so these will probably be mid 7s to low 800s. So But
I think this was previously this is a duplex.
yes.
Yeah, we rezoned that years ago, and they thought it was the greatest thing. I mean, but anyways,
Any other questions from the council?
any questions?
Okay.
Oh, we got to hear from
We got to
Lynn.
hear from.
Sorry.
yes.
Thank you. Lemuel Ward, I live at 1496 Spring Street. We just don't want to be here as naysayers all the time. This is this kind of development where we would support a higher density. What Mr. Younger's doing here is redeveloping a townhouse that has sort of run its obsolescence, or a set of duplexes that have run their course. And if this were undeveloped property, we might have a different opinion. But Mr. Younger is, I certainly support him in this, and wanted to let you know so that we're not always going to come here and yell and scream no. When it's appropriate, we'll support it. So thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
All right. Well, if there are not any other questions, I would like to make a motion to approve item 4B, 2019-89, zoning request Z19-004, rezoning from RM-10 to RDA conditional for the construction of 2 family homes at a density of 5.71 units per acre, 0.35 acres, land lot 593 at 1601 Walker Street, M. Younger Homes, LLC.
Second.
Motion second to approve this zoning request. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 6-0. Item C, 2019-994, public hearing zoning request Z19-005, rezoning from R15 to R10, conditional for 4 single-family homes at a density of 3.72 units per acre, 1.17 acres, land lot 561, 1420 and 1430 Roswell Street, M. Younger Homes, LLC. Ms. Jones, Tammy Sadler Jones, the background, please.
M. Younger Homes LLC is requesting a rezoning from R15 to R10 conditional for property located at 1420 and 1430 Roswell Street for the construction of 4 new single-family residents at a density of 3.72 units per acre. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing houses, subdivide the 2 parcels into 4 new lots, and construct 4 new single-family residents. The Planning and Zoning Board heard the request at the March 11, 2019 meeting and approved the request by a vote of 7-0. Community Development recommends approval of the request to rezone from R15 to R10 conditional with conditions.
Ken Southers, you got,
Thank you once again. Again, this is another request by Mr. Younger. This time it's on Roswell. This is similar, but with a little twist to it in relationship to the previous request. We do have 4 existing structures or home units on this site, although it's on 2 lots. What the proposal is to divide those 2 into 4 lots and then end up with 4 individual homes as well. So there is a zoning change from R15 to R10 conditional. Again, no change necessary in the future land use plan. This shows the proposed site plan. They're somewhat pie-shaped lots with the narrow end at the back of the property. You will see that there is a detention pond there. We will fly some information in for you. You'll have a front setback of 20 feet, side of 7.5 for those interior sides. The exterior would be 10, and then the rear is 15 with that. There is the stormwater facility I mentioned. And then, as we had with the previous request, our ordinance requires, if we are short on right-of-way, that there's a dedication. So in this case, we would have a 5-foot dedication to be able to put in a 5-foot sidewalk with a 2-foot grass strip, which would meet our ordinance requirements. That issue there is sort of the twist, and I'll walk you through that in just a minute. There's also a new stormwater pipe with a 15-foot easement. Public Works has looked at this and has approved this concept. This is the existing survey and the proposed home elevations. And a picture of the subject property. Now, the top left photo shows a wall that runs along Roswell Street, and that is an issue of concern to the neighbors of Williams Park. This next slide that also shows the wall in that upper picture, but a closer view, shows that it is a stone wall. If there is a dedication, which I've talked about on the 5 feet, in order to bring the sidewalk up to standard, including the 2-foot buffer strip, that wall would have to be removed or relocated somewhere else. The issue from staff's perspective, whether it's out of community development or from the city engineer, is the recommendation that went to the Planning Commission was that the right-of-way dedication needed to occur, which would then mean that this wall would have to go away in some way, shape, or form. So that's the issue that we have as part of this rezoning. So this is a little bit unusual tonight. I don't think there's any issue between staff and the Planning Commission and the neighbors regarding what they want to do with the use, with the houses. The issue is this wall. So I wanted to highlight this and make sure everybody understood that there are, it sort of comes down to whether we're going to have a dedication of right-of-way and the sidewalk, or we're not going to have that aspect. I've been notified that, Williams Park would like to speak on that issue. For their benefit, we have loaded slides that are available to use as part of this PowerPoint at the end of my presentation. So here are pictures of the adjacent property. So staff, as already said, we're recommending approval of this. Again, with the same standard conditions that I went over. I'm not going to go over these again since I did that in the previous request. But all of those early standard conditions, which are part of our ordinance, still apply. But on the special conditions, again, which apply specifically to this rezoning, we have a front setback of 20 feet, exterior side of 10, interior side of 7.5, with a minimum of 10 feet between buildings. Rear is 15 feet. Again, the driveway length of 22 feet, minimum lot size of 10,000. You have your lot width, which is indeed measured at our setback line at 50 feet. Homes shall have a minimum floor area of 1,500 square feet. Here's where item 15 is development shall provide the 5-foot sidewalk and 2-foot grass buffer. Shall provide the 15-foot stormwater easement, which was highlighted for you. And then 17 is that 5-foot right-of-way dedication, which has been discussed. Building height, is 35 feet. Lot coverage is 35%. And then again, water and sewer issues have to meet the requirements of our Public Works Department, as well as the stormwater management facility is totally located on HOA property there. All the trees within the limits of disturbance and not located within a tree protection area have to be removed during land clearing and grading. And then they would be bound to the site plans that I've shown you here tonight, as well as the building elevations with that. Now, this is the proposed site plan. Again, this is the pictures of the wall. We've seen these earlier. I've just put them on this slide. And here's the existing survey. Because they are proposing one central driveway, and that these lots would be served from the rear of the structures. The wall that is highlighted in red here, part of that wall is going to have to be removed to get the driveway in there. The existing drive that is shown there, they will not be used. So here is the proposed site plan. There is the wall, and as you can see, that central driveway is going to have to go through that wall.
So it currently has 2 driveways. Currently now, the property has
Yes.
2 driveways.
Yes. So this is the beginning of the slides from Williams Park, so I'll leave it at that point and they can pick up from there. But again, staff's recommending approval of this request of the use and the subdivision of land to 4 lots to allow the 4 houses. And as discussed, the main issue seems to be what to do with the wall. And I'll leave it with that.
Is there any questions of Mr. Sudrith? Ken, go on.
Just for clarification, the wall will have to be in this plan where you keep the wall, you still have to breach the wall in the middle in order to get the right-of-way for the throughput down to the detention. Is that correct?
Yeah, at that point, it wouldn't technically be right away, it would just be a driveway on private property. But yes, to get that central driveway in there, the wall would have to be breached.
Now, the structure of the wall, I mean, is it's stone, I see that. How is it put together? I mean, I know it's over 80 years old, so the structural integrity is what I'm asking a question about. Will it be able to be maintained once you take a center section out of it, or will it crumble? Because
Ron, I wish I can't tell you what the structural survivability is of the wall. I mean, it was built, as the neighborhood will present, it was built in the late 30s. I'm assuming it was done by hand. Yes. What that structural integrity is, I don't know.
Okay. All right. I know the applicant is here. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to make any comment concerning this rezoning? If you want to make any comment, I want to get everybody sworn in at one time. So those that want to make any public comment, come forward at this time. even if you think you want to make a comment, I'm just going to swear folks in one time. See, I knew Ron would come up there after I said that. Wait till we get up here. All right, we'll do Mr. Younger first. Miss Blackburn.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, welcome back.
Good to be back.
Fancy seeing you here again. Mr. Younger, again, I'm going to ask you the same question. Just tell us a little bit more about your project. Of course, I'm interested in your price point. And the question that I was going to ask of you, Councilmember Fennell has already asked of Ken Sudworth, and that was the wall, the structurally soundness of the wall. But
Okay, so this is kind of, again, in the neighborhood, redeveloping the same way we've done before. I'm excited about this. I mean, I think the sidewalk there is a big deal for me. Before I bought the property, you know, I have a 2-year-old son, and we go to music class up there. We live on Walker Street. We walk around. It's the way it is now. You can't walk there. It's the sidewalk's below the street. It's having a wall there, and the sidewalk is only about 3 feet wide. It's really pretty scary, and cars come pretty fast around that turn. And there's a lot of children at the music class at different times of day crossing the street. People run that stop sign. The problem is, in order to get from one side of Williams Park to the other, you can either go down Matthews Street, which is pretty fast, and the sidewalk over there is right on the street too. So you kind of have to go one of two ways. Now this is swinging around Roswell Street. You know, it's vital to the people walking dogs and pushing strollers and stuff like that in the neighborhood. So I mean, the other issue is I'm developing down there at the 5 Points, where we just tore down the old car wash on Hawthorne, Roswell, and Matthews Street. So we just tore that down last week. We're going to put in 2 small buildings, which will hopefully be kind of micro restaurants, and try and revitalize the 5 Points area over there. So, you know, again, kind of committed to my neighborhood here, and, you know, I want people to be able to get to these restaurants by foot and by stroller, and by bike, beach cruise, or whatever. So that, I'm glad I've got the opportunity now to correct this problem here with a sidewalk. I'm open to the neighbors' requests with, you know, trying to maintain the wall as much as I can. I'm open to, you know, so I'm committed to keeping the wall, you know, and I kind of was letting the mayor and council kind of decide which way they wanted to go with, you know, whether the ball, you know, whether we can keep it or not. You know, so. Again, the price point is probably going to be similar to Walker Street in the high 7s, low 800s. Kind of same size houses. So.
How about those 2 sofas that were in the back there? You gonna get rid of?
What, I can.
2 sofas I saw in the back.
Those are all you.
Did that go with the property?
Yeah. So no, that was an interesting purchase. That was.
okay.
Any questions? Don't go away.
Any other questions from the council? Go ahead.
Yeah, there's obviously there's going to be some. You got to move a lot of dirt. If the wall stays there, I know there's a tree close to the wall. We start moving the dirt. What's going to happen? I mean, I don't know how to. Just a minute, y'all. Hold on. I'm thinking. So, how do you assure that wall's going to stay up if?
I can't really assure that the wall. I mean, some modifications are going to have to be made. One for the alleyway to come in, and then even for the folks that are the 2 houses on down the street toward the music class, they're going to have to get to the sidewalk somehow. So I'll have to, you know, probably cut a section in the wall and put a gate. But I've got pretty good brick masons, and it can be sections that can be disassembled and rebuilt. my first plan before anybody approached me was that I would take this, part of the material that I was removing for the driveway, and then if I can pick it up and reset it, I'll do that. If I have to rebuild it, coming down to create an entrance to the alley, that's what I was had thought that I would do, and because a section of it does have to be removed. But it looks like a pretty solid wall, and it's not. I thought it probably could be moved in sections, but anything that's gonna. I'm open to whatever. This. I can work with it, or I can kind of try and repurpose parts of it and make it kind of work. I'm not really 100% sure which way I want to do it.
Believe
I was
me,
going to
we
work
wish-
with whatever.
We wish that it had been settled before it got to us.
Right.
So what you're
I thought that was a reasonable request, is to try and fix what I can and repurpose it. I'd like to maintain a presence on the street and in the neighborhood. I'm not coming here to say I don't want the wall all at all and bulldoze it, but it is.
Is there a guardrail up on the property also?
There is farther down, but I was going to take that out. It was before the wall started, so I guess they had continued the wall with the guardrail.
I would think probably years ago the city put that guardrail up for. It's not very attractive.
Right.
But
So you were sharing that you have some very good brick masons. Have you had an opportunity to speak with any of them to find out if you cut the wall, what how structurally sound it would be, even if you had to move
talked
it?
to the guy that would be moving it was my grader, and he seemed to think that if I cut the wall and tried to lift it up in 8 or 6 foot sections, he didn't think it would stay together. But he's lifting it up with a heavy piece of heavy equipment and straps, and I hadn't put a whole lot of. I think if the parts that we do take out for the alleyway would probably be disassembled and rebuilt, just by hand.
Okay.
So I have a question too. You spoke about your walking to the music class from on that sidewalk. If there were a buffer, and I guess I've heard that there could still be a 1.5 feet, just not the 2 foot there with that existing sidewalk possibly added. Would that, do you think that would help to make it feel, when you're walking along there, safer?
Anything's better than what's there now. I think, I guess the proposal is to leave the wall where it is and then to take 2 feet or so out of the street and get the width in the green space by taking it out of the city street. So that actually makes the street smaller. I think that's the proposal. You'd have to do that to leave the wall where it is.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It's just not safe either the way it is right now. So either proposal would make it safer, I would think. But
Mr. Younger, you're obviously, I'm over here on the end. I appreciate the work you've done in the neighborhood to make the improvements for a more livable neighborhood, and I'm applauding your ability to get a price of that magnitude in there. And if I were buying an $800,000, I'm not, Lim, I'm not. You sure you're Lim? You didn't sign up to speak the third time. Somebody's kidnapped the real Lim. That's not. But if your primary concern, you evidence for your family, would be for mine, the walkability of the neighborhood and the safety aspect. If it's possible for you to solve and I love the design and the structure itself, but Mr. Cochran's wall can be memorialized in more than one way, I guess, than sit there and be a hazard on a sidewalk. But is your attempt to make it safe and preserve some aspect of visual in that neighborhood?
That's, well, so That's, I mean, I don't want to upset the neighbors, but, you know, I'm a neighbor there too, but my first priority would be to do the standard right away and make it the safest possible that it can be. And I feel strongly that I can reuse the stone in the wall and repurpose it in a manner that pays homage to the wall and maintains an existence in Williams Park. Now, we also have to understand that these houses are going to be owned by individuals once I'm done. And I feel like I need the best chance for this wall to live in Williams Park in the future is if I do it properly. If I try and do some kind of quirky, weird thing, the person that buys lot 3 could come in and say, Matt, you know, love the house, hate the wall, can you take the wall down? You know, it's that at that point it's their wall. So we can decide here what we're going to do today, but once the house is sold, it's somebody else's property and it's their wall at that point. So I felt strongly that if, you know, I could repurpose this wall and rebuild it or resection or make it, try and make it work in a way that stone still stays on Roswell Street and it's still there in a way and his legacy still remains. But, you know, it's not uncommon in areas where they're redeveloping older things to move houses, to move statues, to move things, to stay on the property. I know it's not what, you know, I mean, now I sound like I'm pushing for that, but you know, I want to, you know, I think it's important for it to be there, but that was where, you know, I feel, if you're going to ask me, I mean, you're asking me for what I feel like is the right thing to do, and that's what I feel like is the right thing to do. So.
Mr. Younger, I don't know if this question is for you or Ken, maybe a combination of the two. Can you pull up the site plan for us to look at? I mean, I'm looking at it on my screen, but for everybody to see. And a question.
Do you want the proposed plan or the existing plan?
Proposed plan, yes, sir.
This is the proposed one with the location of the wall.
Okay.
Is that sufficient?
If it is, if you look at, I'm looking at lot 3, and in the center of lot 3, I see a dimension of 5 foot, which is essentially the 5-foot sidewalk up toward the street. Is it, my understanding is, am I correct in saying that that wall, the existing wall, is at the front of that sidewalk, or is it at the back of the existing, or the proposed, I'm sorry, is it at the front or the back of the existing 5-foot line?
The majority of the wall today, but not all of it, is on private property. There's a little bit of the wall already in the right-of-way. If the dedication of the 5 feet occurs, all of the wall will be in the right-of-way.
Okay, so
that the sidewalk, you'd have the street, the curb, the 2-foot grass strip, the sidewalk, and then the wall, and then you'd have that's where the wall would be. So I think I've answered your question, is that the sidewalk's going to be on the street side of the wall, not behind the wall.
Okay, so currently the wall is located within where the proposed sidewalk is to some extent.
Correct.
It's the proposed wall is behind the existing wall.
Proposed wall.
Well, the proposed angle, these two angles in here would be behind the existing wall, or would they be in essentially the same location?
No, the sidewalk would be in essentially the same location. It would just, we would have more right-of-way to work with, which
Okay.
means.
And that helps. My real concern is this. I'm on Roswell Street, and I'm coming to this driveway running north or south, either direction really, but I'm in the right lane about to turn right into this development. And I'm making a little bit more than a right turn, and I've got to swing in here and not hit that wall with my car. And I see a traffic issue as much as I do anything. and a danger in making that right-hand turn into that development with the wall located either where it is now or really where it's proposed to be put, because we only have a 15-foot driveway proposed. And, you know, I think we may help ourselves a little bit by moving it back, but, you know, ideally, I'd rather see a little curvature in there around instead of having right angles on those corners. But anyway, that's my concern is that the danger of the wall being out there and the traffic coming and making turns into this development.
Yeah, one additional comment. Mr. Younger had illustrated that that's where he would repurpose the wall around that new driveway. Staff has not looked at, we haven't gone into detail as to, oh, you've got to put your angle on the wall because you've got a visual sight triangle issue that you've got to maintain that we always going to look at. So even though he's showing you the area, it's not necessarily reflective of the final design of that wall. But if that's indeed what would happen, there's another layer of ordinances that he would have to follow in terms of bringing that wall that close to the road.
Okay.
And a sight triangle would have to be maintained. I understand what you're saying. Yes, it is a fairly narrow driveway, and it would have to be a fairly sharp turn, but it's not exactly going to be a right angle if that's what happens.
Okay. Thank you. You've answered my question.
Before you leave, can I ask you a question as well, please? Are there, and you may not know the answer, but I don't think Kevin Moore, our city engineer, is here, or I'd ask him, but are there any future plans for changes to the road in that intersection? Or do you know?
Yeah, I'm not aware that there are, but I hate to answer for Kevin with that because that's a little bit outside of community development's responsibilities.
Any other questions?
I have a couple questions. And first, thanks so much for the work that you do in the city. It's really, it's valuable, and you're resident, and I know you have your long-term best interest of the city in mind. But also thanks to the Williams Park residents, because you can get $700,000 to $800,000 for your homes because of the advocacy of these folks here, right? So it's a balance between some development and and the wishes and desires of the residents. So it's a tricky one. You mentioned the point about a future owner of the property will own the wall and therefore can do what they want with the wall after the property is purchased. Have you thought about how to handle that at all, or is?
Well, not. I hate to encumber titles and things like that with stuff like that. Just I guess what I felt was if I made it a feature, and to your point, that was just a kind of is right with showing. This is just the general idea of how the entrance is going to be. But you typically, there's lots of subdivisions or areas with a kind of an entrance, and I kind of felt like if it was done tastefully and repurposes stuff, well then it's not going to be something that somebody's going to want to get rid of.
Right.
It'd just be. But no, I don't. I hadn't tried to make any kind of homeowners association, or I don't know what you would do. I'd have to. That would be for some, a real estate attorney to figure out. I guess if you were going to somehow,
I think one of the key things for me is the pedestrian safety. Really is, to your point. It's a dangerous curve right there now without any curbing, and I know things can be done, but really long-term pedestrian safety as a neighborhood gets denser and want to walk to the restaurants, walk to 5 Points, that's really a critical thing.
This section of sidewalk here is critical to the neighborhood. Because, I mean, there's only two ways to get from one side of the neighborhood to the other, so.
So if I'm faced with the choice of preserving some of the really nice features of the neighborhood over what my perception is pedestrian safety, that's a tough call, but.
Right. And, you know, it's a long-term deal. I want these houses to be here for 100 years. That's what I tell people. I build a 100-year house. You know, I'm not building, you know, and I know that's been here for 100 years or 80 years, and, you know, but I intend to build something that's going to be as lasting as that. But this is an opportunity to do this right one time and get the street right. And I do think there is plans for a re-angling of this intersection here. That's what Kevin was talking about. He had shown me how they were going to try and change this angle of attack so it's not such a sweep in front of the music school, but it actually comes to almost I don't know if there's going to be a stop sign there or not, but there'll be more of a turn. Yeah, so I guess there's a stop sign there now, right? It's nobody base it.
Could you develop this property if we left the wall where it's at, the sidewalks where it's at, and let you have the two entrances?
Well, that was my original approach, was to do shared driveway for each house. But I guess when I first brought it up, it was Eric Randall. He didn't like because that the way wherever that alley comes out now, which is too close to the intersection, basically, he wanted to go with one apron for these houses and to get that away from the intersection. He didn't want this driveway pulling right out in front of that stop sign. So it was his request to reduce it to one instead of two.
So is there currently a drive right there at the intersection now, like a driveway for that house? Okay.
There is.
So.
And see, this is what happens sometimes when we get involved in stuff. That I mean, our staff gives us good recommendations, and they tell us what they recommend. And
well, I understand. I don't know which way to decide either. I feel like I can make it look good either way, you know. But
so I have a question for Scott Cochran. If it was decided to leave the wall, is that something that could be part of the HOA as the detention pond is in the back? Then,
probably.
Yeah, if you decided to leave the wall where it is and not require a dedication, then the wall would be on private property, and you could make that private property be dedicated to an HOA. That you could do that if you wanted. That's, feasibly that could be done, I think. I don't know what kind of practical impact that would have on a home HOA, but I guess you already have that with a detention, yeah, so, yeah, you could do that.
okay, thank you.
any other questions, Mr. Unger? Okay. Just have a seat. Anyone that was sworn in, like to make any public comment, please come forward, tell us who you are, where you live, and any comments you'd like to make.
Yes, I'm Keith Bentley. I live on Gilbert Street, and I am just surprised that this issue is getting this much discussion, and certainly we're trying to re-engineer something here at City Council meeting, but I really did think we had an agreement on this a week ago. When this first came up, it came to P&Z, and at that time, I just had a couple of days or something to talk to Matt Younger, and he said, yeah, we can work with you on the wall, but by the time we got to P&Z, we didn't know exactly what could be done or was the best thing to do. So we raised that issue at Planning and Zoning, and Planning and Zoning said, well, we understand the concern, and they actually voted to remove the requirement for the dedication of 5 feet of right-of-way and the sidewalk entirely, and then they gave a strong recommendation that the parties involved get together and work it out. So the very next day, myself and one of my neighbors and Mr. Younger and Kevin Moore sat down over at the Public Works office, and we we talked about maybe half a dozen different options to what to do with this wall. We talked about putting the sidewalk behind the wall. And we talked about cutting and moving it. We talked about the original proposal. We talked about several others. At any rate, at the end of the day, at the end of that meeting, we came up with what we thought was the best alternative, which I will get to. I wrote that up. I sent it back to Mr. Moore. I sent it back to Mr. Younger. Mr. Younger said, "Yep, that's good with me." I really thought Mr. Moore was in agreement with it, but I never heard from him for a while. So a week ago, I sent the write-up that I had to Ms. Blackburn and copied all the other parties involved, that we had this agreement worked out and it was good news, we're all in agreement. And then a day or two later, Mr. Moore sent an email saying, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't agree." So that's why we are where we are on this discussion. But be that as it may, I think there's still some misunderstanding about the wall and about what we're really asking for and the safety aspects of it. So I don't know if you can get that one slide back up.
Let's see, which one? All right, that's the beginning. That was the text. Is that where you want to start, Keith? Okay.
Okay, so just a little more of the history. That stone wall was built in 1938 by the resident at the time. His name was Paul Cochran. When I made this slide, I wasn't sure of his first name, but and his 10-year-old son, Crafton. Crafton lived there his entire life. He was pushing 90, I think, when he had to move to a retirement home. So that wall has been in the neighborhood for that long. I think it's an important landmark, and it adds character to the neighborhood. It's a unique wall. It's not something that a professional company came in and made, and it's all square and nice. And they did a good job of it. It's still standing there. We believe the wall actually serves as a traffic calming feature. When people come around the corner, they see that wall and they slow down. I only lived in the neighborhood since 2006, and to my knowledge, nobody's ever hit the wall. I think maybe somebody might have hit it in 1945. I don't know, but it's been there a long time. And I think what we're asking for is really only minor deviations from the city's sort of standard policy, and is all that's required to preserve the wall. The developer and the neighborhood, as I've written here, are in agreement to the proposed change of the stipulations. We're not arguing. And I'll just show you what they are. This is the exact wording that we would propose. So we have two changes to the stipulations. On the left, on the standard stipulation, we have a 5-foot sidewalk, a 2-foot grass strip along Roswell Street for the length of the development. What we would say is we can do a 5-foot sidewalk and a 1.5-foot grass buffer. And again, a curb is included with both of those, so that sidewalk is improved in either case. There will be a curb there. So it's a difference of 6 inches of grass buffer. And there's room to do that. We've gone out there and measured it, and I think everybody involved in agreement, there's room to do that. The second one is the right-of-way itself. Obviously, if you take 5 foot of right-of-way, the wall is in the right-of-way. And so, according to the city, we can't have a wall in our right-of-way. You have to give us a right-of-way. Now it's ours. You can't have the wall in it. So we just are recommending delete the stipulation. There's already 45 feet of right-of-way there because the development across the street was developed back in 2007. And by the way, that development, which was done in 2007, has a 5-foot sidewalk and no grass strip. So this would be at least as good as that, which is directly across the street. End result, if we stay with the standard policy, the wall's got to go. And if we make these two small changes, the wall's preserved. And that's it. The wall itself is not a pedestrian hazard. The hazard is because the sidewalk currently is below the roadbed. There was a curb there that I think the WPA built back in the day, but it's already under the new roadbed there.
And Keith, I'll let you go over almost 2 minutes
I'm
past
sorry.
time.
I actually meant to do this in one slide, but there's, like I say, there's just been a lot more discussion than I expected.
I just got one quick question.
Yeah.
So if you take out that sidewalk in front, what's going that do to the structure of the wall?
But we're not taking out the sidewalk. We're building a new sidewalk in front of it that's just,
In front of the existing sidewalk?
no, in front of the existing wall. It's really on, the existing sidewalk is only 4 feet. So you'd replace it with a 5-foot sidewalk, a 2-foot grass
But you'd have to
strip, and a
dig up
curb.
that sidewalk, right?
You said replace it, so you'd have to dig up the one that's there.
Well, I don't know if it's over it. I don't know how you build a sidewalk over another sidewalk, or you tear it up, but
All right,
it has to
good.
be replaced.
All right, okay.
And well, we could go on, but I mean, when we were talking to the city a couple of years ago about that other angle out to make the slow down traffic there, that was originally part of that project, was to replace that sidewalk as a city project.
Yeah.
So now it's a developer, so it's a little bit different, but it's the same thing.
All right, good. Thank you. Anyone else that was sworn in that wants to speak? Sorry, Keith took 2 minutes of your time.
Well, Keith did a good job of making his point, and I'm one of the parties who believed we had an agreement here between the city and the builder and the neighborhood about that wall. That wall predates the sidewalk, so the wall is deeper than the sidewalk. The wall is not sitting on top of the sidewalk. If you have to demolish that sidewalk to build a new sidewalk, that's going to work just fine, probably. I'm not an engineer. But this is just craziness. I mean, Williams Park is Smyrna's oldest residential neighborhood, and we keep losing structures to redevelopment, mostly houses. In this case, we're just asking for a 5-foot alteration to what the plan would normally be in order to save a structure that's meaningful to the neighborhood. There are a lot of neighbors here tonight for this purpose, but they don't intend to speak. They didn't get up. You don't know if they're sitting here for something else or are they here for this, but I'm going to tell you there's a fair number of neighbors here.
I think I know what they're here for.
And aside from them, there are many neighbors who thought we had this thing sewn up and didn't come out tonight. So, maybe if we need an extension to iron out these details, maybe Mr. Younger would be willing to do that. I don't know that he's getting underway on this project right away. Does he have to have this approval or disapproval tonight? But the wall is meaningful to the neighborhood as a whole, and our neighborhood has been talking with the city about traffic issues at that intersection for 4 years now. And so the question got raised, is there something we can do about the traffic aside from take the wall out? Well, again, the wall is not a traffic hazard. The wall is traffic calming. But yes, there are plans in the work. The city has promised us that they're going to be working on safety in that intersection. It's a crazy 4-way intersection, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is not a right angle intersection. There's a lot of stuff that comes together right there. But please, let's not be hasty about this. If we need to take more time, let's take more time. Matt's original idea, or the idea that showed up on his site plan when he went to P&Z, that is Mr. Younger's plan that he took to P&Z, where he had taken 2 parts of the wall and made these L shapes at either side of the driveway entrance. Well, he may see that as saving part of the wall and keeping this structure in the neighborhood and this meaningful thing in our lives. But that's like saying you're going to demolish an old house, but you're going to take the doors and make coffee tables out of them. You haven't saved anything. You repurposed a small part of something in a meaningless way. That's my point. Thank you for the time.
Anyone else that was sworn in?
I give you my 5 minutes, Mayor.
Yeah, good. I'm not speaking, I'm just listening. Here comes a young lady that was sworn in.
Hi, I'm Sonia Engel, and I live on Highland Avenue. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all from my heart. I grew up on Highland Avenue. I can still remember the first time I was tall enough to lift myself up on that wall. We used to go to the little store and buy Cokes and popsicles at that is now the music store in our neighborhood. But what I'm hearing tonight sounds like there is no real plan for actually saving this wall and keeping it intact. I firmly believe that this wall is a historic wall for the city of Smyrna and our neighborhood. And so to say, well, we're going to bust down the middle of it so that we can have a central driveway, that's completely unacceptable. There are 2 driveways now that can be used, and there's space in between those houses now to redirect those driveways and not have to punch a hole in the center of it. That wall is sturdy, it's solid, and to say that you're going to pick it up and move it, Mayor and Council, I just don't think will work. So I am begging tonight for your indulgence for more work with Mr. Younger and the neighborhood to come up with a better plan for preserving this historical wall in Williams Park. Thank you.
Anyone else that was sworn in? Okay. Matt, you want to come up and get us out of this mess?
Well, I mean, I'm open to putting this off for another month. I mean, I'm no rush. So, I mean, I kind of like the idea of, you know, my original idea was to have 2 alleys. And I mean, I would have to go back to Kevin now, who's, and talk to him about that and say see how he feels about that. But I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
You know, that was my original design, you know, and that, of course, now we don't have to, you know, damage the wall in any way. We can exit on either side of it. It would take some, you know, agreement from mayor and council and stuff to kind of approve that. But I'm fine with that. And, you know, I don't know what that does to the wide, that, you know, that solves one issue, whether, I guess we still have the issue of the sidewalk and the right of way and all of that. But I'm fine if we want to just kind of let this go for another month.
And I think we can do that. I just want to just say that our staff, I think, gave us their professional opinion. I wasn't privy to the meetings that y'all were in. I didn't get copied on anything that I know of, so I don't know what y'all agreed to or said you were going to agree to. But I would say this, that, you know, we've had 2 expert witnesses come before us tonight and told us that wall is solid. I don't know what that wall is. It's been there as long as I can remember. And but I don't know. I mean, my concerns are if you start moving stuff around it, is that wall going to be there? I don't know. I wasn't here whenever they built it. But I think we can put this off, table it till the first meeting in, second meeting in May, and that hopefully give time for everybody to try to address things. The issue that we're here tonight is really the rezoning and the density, and I think we're replacing 4 structures with 4 structures and 2 nice sofas that are in back, and so I don't think it's really the issue of the zoning is fine. It's just the issue about the wall.
Right.
I would like to know where those 2 cats were or whatever was on top of the pillars. Somebody cut them off. You got them at your house? No. I'll send the police over. Oh, he got them?
When he sold the property.
Yeah.
They cut them off and they went to family members.
Yep. And I'll just say this, that the wall could have been torn down at any time when the new owners bought the property. But anyway, I think we're here to try to reach a compromise, and we're not there yet. So, Matt, if you don't have any issues with tabling, I'll ask Marilyn Blackburn to make a motion to table until then, and then we'll
Ooh, is my head spinning or what? Again, I can't say thank you enough to my constituents in Williams Park for coming out and definitely sharing your concerns about the wall. Matt Younger, thank you so much for your willingness to work with the community on this. It is a very nice wall, and from what I'm hearing, it's a strong wall. We hope so. But it's something that I do too believe that adds to the character of the Williams Park neighborhood. I'd like to see it stay. I mean, I don't know if there's any way that we can work this out. I also do know that we have been talking with Frank Moore and the community in Williams Park about some traffic calming things that we want to do over there. And so if we can figure all of that out, that would be great. But what I would like to do is I'm going to take the mayor's lead on this, and I'm going to ask that we table item 4C, 2019-94, which is the zoning request Z19-005, the rezoning from R15 to R10 conditional for 4 single-family homes at a density of 3.72 units per acre, 1.17 acres, land lot 561, 1420 and 1430 Roswell Street. Matt Younger.
Second.
Motion is second to table. All those in favor of the motion to table?
You folks stick around. We've got a nice development down on the river that you might want to hear about.
Has it come up yet, the vote, or am I just missing it? I'm right. I'll just ask for a hand vote then. Is it 6-0 to come up?
It did come up.
Okay, 6-0. So this will be tabled to the second meeting in May, and if y'all could please resolve this, we'd appreciate it. Let's see, the next item on the agenda is, let me say this about the traffic comment. Keith Bentley was right. We talked about that 4 or 5 years ago, and we thought we were going to get some things done, and that was our previous city engineer, and he was a little slow on getting that thing. So he's gone. I think Kevin Moore will find something that will be good for all of us. So, okay. All right, item D, 2019-95, public hearing, zoning request Z19-006, rezoning from O&I to OI-PD to add a medical office building and new parking for Emory Hospital, 12.69 acres, land lot 552, 3903, 3949, and 3969, South Cobb Drive, the Emory Clinic. The background, Miss Tammy Sadler-Jones.
The Emory Clinic is seeking approval to rezone 3909, 3949, and 3969 South Cobb Drive from office institutional to planned office development for the purposes of rezoning a portion of the site. The site currently holds a hospital building and 2 medical office buildings. The applicant is proposing to add a 120,000 square foot medical office building as well as a new parking deck that is designed to serve the existing and proposed medical office buildings and the hospital. The Planning and Zoning Board heard the zoning request at the March 11th, 2019 meeting and approved the request by a vote of 7-0. Community Development recommends approval of the rezoning from OI to OIPD with conditions. Ken Sudreth will give more information on this one too.
Yes, I'm gonna just make sure the applicant's here. All right, okay, good deal, Mr. Sudreth.
No walls. All right. We've talked about Emory Hospital for a number of years, 100% acquiring the property. And so we have worked, staff has worked with them really over the last several years. So finally, what we have tonight has to do with improvement of the campus and this first phase. So tonight's rezoning is really about phase one of this redevelopment of the campus, and it has to deal with their a medical office building, which Ms. Sandler Jones had stated earlier. So staff and Planning Commission have reviewed this and are recommending approval ultimately with this. One of the additional changes that you'll see tonight is instead of just making this an OI conditional, because we're dealing with different phases and a campus atmosphere, I felt that the better way to do this would be an office institutional plan development. So we can reference sort of phase two, but we're not asking them to commit to phase two, but at least we know what's going on with the whole project. So, having said that, the request centers around this new medical office building as well as a new parking deck. There's no need to change our land use plan. I mean, we're dealing with an office institutional use today. We'll continue to be dealing with that in the future. So we have the proposed site plan, and with these fly-ins indicating where the existing hospital and the existing medical office buildings are. And you can see, just to remind everybody, there are two entrances to the campus here. This shows in the blue the 4-story, which would have 30,000 square feet on each story for the 120,000 square foot total, as well as the proposed parking deck, which would wrap around that northern medical office building. And then the surface parking that exists out there behind the hospital, as well as in front of the hospital, would remain but be improved. So the location of the medical office building is actually in the grassed area, the green area, between that parking that exists today and South Cobb Drive. Now there are some conditions that they've asked for, as well as some variances. The first one is to allow the LDP, or the land disturbance permit, to be issued prior to the GDOT approval, because obviously it's a state highway. GDOT's got to be involved with the driveways because there is some adjustments that are proposed for that. City engineer does not support that, but there is an alternative as part of our condition as we go through with that. Now, with regard to stream buffer variances, there are existing encroachments out there. What they are asking is that that just be maintained. And then there's an issue where there is new encroachment, that buffer averaging be allowed, and the city engineer is supportive of both of those requests. And with regard to variances, and anytime you have a large development like this, you're going to run into several issues here. The front setback looks like a huge change. We don't actually, of 120 feet to 25 feet. Obviously it is, but that's a function of our corridor design issues, as well as our standard zoning issues. It's not that they would normally be 120 feet back. It's the relationship that's already there with the existing buildings and so forth. Rear setback would be reduced 50 to 40. Building separation would go down to 15. building height would increase from 55 to 125. Although they would not need that 125 for this first phase, because we're only dealing with 4 stories, it would be needed in subsequent phase. I felt like it would be appropriate to go ahead and give them direction. Do we support that or do we not? Staff is supportive of that requirement. You know, there is an issue about, having sloped roofs, obviously, because of potential building heights here, flat roofs are being requested. Staff is supportive of that. There's an issue about, again, based on the corridor requirements that how you face the institutional building faces, how the entrances have to be there, and how the parking works with all of that. Staff is supportive of these changes. One thing that I think is important to remember is we're going to end up with a structure that is going to be impressive, in my opinion, for that corridor, and will indeed create a presence for the hospital. There's additional variances that have to do with landscaping and parking lot medians, and the percentage areas. Staff is supportive of that, not just in order to get this, but to be realistic in the fact that when that second phase comes, some of this has got to be redone anyway. So for us to say, no, you got to put it in, we're just encouraging it then to be taken out when the second phase comes. So again, trying to anticipate that is another reason for using this plan development classification with that. Sign ordinance issue, again, due to the height of the building, they would only be, they'd be allowed 325 feet. They're asking for 550. Staff is supportive of that as well. Now, these are the proposed elevations. The top elevation, we're saying also northeast, southwest. I think it's easier to say, hey, the top one is what you're going to see when you're inside the campus. When you're in the parking lot, that's what you're going to see. The bottom one is what you're going to see from South Cobb. That's how it's going to look. So that northern entrance, as we have it today, you can see in this bottom elevation, there's a little gray sort of line that goes out. Well, that's a canopy, that functions as a drop-off point for that area. I won't spend too much time on the parking deck, other than to say the parking deck is being designed that ultimately, when that northern medical office building comes down, they will extend the parking garage to replace that area. Pictures of the subject property, showing the top left is that northern medical office building. The bottom left is the building that's on the southern side. The one on the bottom right shows the 2 entrances, and the one on the top right tries to get all 3 buildings that exist on this campus. Again, adjacent properties as well as the large right-of-way and utility line that runs in front of that property. So both staff's recommendation and Planning Commission recommendation is to approve this request for the change to OI planning development. Again, with the standard requirements, not all of the ones, because this is a institutional use and not a residential use, will apply. But we have all utilities shall be underground. any traffic improvements are their responsibilities. No debris can be buried. They've got to function within the tree ordinance. Submit landscape plans. Common areas have to be sodded and landscaped. But here are the specific conditions. To translate all of those ones that I flew in on the map, you have a 25-foot front, a 10-foot side, 40-foot rear, and a 15-foot building separation. Developer also needs to meet all fire access requirements, as well as water and sewer improvements that are deemed necessary. On number 8 there regarding the fire access, Fire Marshal's office has been involved with this request from the very beginning, so as it sits today, they are comfortable with the access that has been proposed. Stormwater improvements, they need to coordinate with our city engineer. And then the issue of the final issuance of the land disturbance permit. They wanted to get it prior to GDOT. This is the alternative as submitted to us by the city engineer, in that it would not occur until GDOT approval is obtained, which is our standard procedure. However, preliminary grading and demolition work, once the city engineer signs off on that, would be allowed to begin prior to GDOT approval being finalized. So it's a little bit, will allow you to do a little before you get that approval, but not enough to go too far in case there are adjustments that GDOT wants. So that's the alternative as recommended by Kevin on this. Again, they had talked about the traffic conditions and a study being done. Kevin is suggesting that 3 months after the issuance of the final CO for the medical office building, the applicant will study the traffic conditions and provide signal modifications or installations as warranted. This time frame can be adjusted by the city engineer as needed, and any improvements necessary as a result of that study or studies is the responsibility of the applicant. That helps come into, is a traffic light needed? When should it come in? What's the traffic? They'll do a study, 3 months after they get that final CO. Again, standard condition about lighting and our other conditions about substantial compliance with the site plans that they have submitted. With that, as well as the elevations that they've submitted, as well as the deck elevations with that. So, with that being said, again, Planning Commission's recommended approval of this. What you have on the screen is color-coded. The blue is the proposed medical office building. The purple is the existing buildings. The upper building in yellow is the parking deck, and then you have the 2 surface parking areas that exist and will be improved. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Sudras?
Yes, can you once again explain the setback, the front setback, I believe it was, where it went from 120 to 25?
Yeah, if you look at the ordinance, you're not going to find, like in a residential district, you'll look and it says, oh, you have to be 35 feet. You're not going to look in the ordinance and it's going to just say, oh, you have to be 120 feet. It's a combination of where it is located. So there's a formula that's used to create that 120 from that, based on where the other buildings are associated with that. So I didn't want you to think if you flip through the ordinance, you're not going to find it says you have to be 120 feet from South Cobb in an OI district. But because of the way that campus has developed, the formula that use then starts from where those buildings are. is included in that formula. That's all I'm saying. I didn't want anybody to say, well, I can't find 120-foot listed in the table. Well, you won't, because you get to it a different way.
Any other questions, Mr. Sutton?
Ken, quick question. I think you clarified it for me, but just the building will be behind the high-tension power lines?
Yes.
Right, that are there?
All right. Thank you, Ken. This is a public hearing. I know the applicant's here. Is there anyone here that would like to make any public comment concerning this, this zoning request? And you are?
I haven't been sworn in yet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know. Okay.
Hi, Doug Hoffman. I've been in here been just living just a shots away from Emory Venice Hospital since '97. I moved here. I'm a practicing physician. I just have a question about the second phase. It looks like they're planning on adding another 70 feet up in elevation. Is that planned for additional space in that second phase, or are they planning on tearing down the old hospital and making that a hospital? Or what's the plan?
Well, I think if you can sit on the front row right there, and we're going to get them to come up and explain exactly what they're doing. If you want to.
Otherwise, I'm in full support of it. The only question I have is when can you start?
Yeah. It's in Mr. Gould's district. Is the applicant here? Will y'all please step forward and just. It's been rough sitting back there for 2 hours, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's all right. I'm used to sitting meetings all day long.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Bacon and council. So to address your question, we are not planning on tearing down the existing hospital. There is a potential of future expansion plans that could occur, but right now there is no commitment to do that. We're just looking at zoning approvals to allow that to happen in the future.
And just for the record, tell us who you are.
Well, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm Mike Mason. I'm Vice President of Operations for the Emory Clinic and representing the applicant today. So the current plans are to reopen the existing hospital. We will, as soon as the CON is fully cleared, the certificate of need, which has been challenged, we will basically shut down that hospital for about a 10-month period where it will be completely renovated on the inside. And then it will reopen. We have to reopen that hospital within a 12-month period of any shutdown. So the current plans are to initiate that work later this summer, and we expect that hospital to be open by August of 2020.
Okay. Tim, any questions?
Little different subject. Can you give us an update on the current status of the certificate of need process?
The certificate of need process right now has gone through the appellate court, and I believe right now it's up to that court to decide what the next steps are. The last steps that can go to is the Georgia Supreme Court, and then that is the last stop for that action. So that's why we expect that to be decided on or before June 1, no later than August.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
We're very happy to have your existing facilities in the city of Smyrna and Ward 6, which is my ward, and very much appreciate you folks willing to invest a great deal of money to improve that property, and again, to the benefit of the residents of Smyrna and our greater community. So thank you very much.
All right, we're excited.
Yeah.
All right.
If there's no
Can't wait
other,
to get sick so I can go down there.
I
That's
do
right.
have a comment real quick.
Well, we'll try to take good care of you.
I do want to also echo my colleagues' sentiment. We've been proud of the hospital over the years being located in Smyrna and the partnership that you had for a long time to deliver services. We're excited about the new iteration that you're proposing, and we're excited to have you for another 100 years in the community as well. So hopefully the appellate court can resolve the matter in order to get us to the next phase. I think the community is enriched by many different players in that space, And I have said that for a long time. I've had exchanges with some of your competitors because I understand how important your part is in the greater delivery of healthcare services. So thank you, and Godspeed. We're all behind you.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Mason, another
Yes, ma'am.
question. I know that the phase one is the building that's going to be closest to South Cobb, got the parking lot, and then you said the hospital itself will be closed down 10 months to do renovations. The building that sits to the left of it, do you plan to do anything with that building in terms of renovating as well?
Not at the present time. That's the purpose of building the new MOB. We would plan to move the occupants out into that new MOB. I think, are you talking about the 3903 building? If I'm standing at South Cobb Drive and I'm looking on the left
Yes.
side of the property, the larger building that sits that
Correct.
is elevated?
Correct.
Yes, there will be some continued occupancy in that building, and we will do some renovations. We're not planning on doing any significant renovations to what we call the Medical Arts Building, which is the other building.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question for Ken Sudreth, and thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And I wonder if Terry Graham could pull up the tree plan, please?
The what plan?
The tree plan. I
She
just
said
have
she
some
can't
questions.
pull it up.
Oh, okay, it's a document that's in our
Yeah, it's not,
package.
I didn't put the plan in the PowerPoint. What you see tonight is the PowerPoint, which is different than the Granicus stuff that you have.
Oh, okay. Well, my question is, I noticed that they have a row of what do they call them? Let's see, on the South
Trees?
Cobb Drive. They're trees, but they're,
They
call them overstory trees, which I think means they're large trees,
Right.
which I think would look great out there in the that area of South Cobb Drive. But I guess I would know that South Cobb Drive is a state road, and that sometimes in that area that's a difficult thing to put trees in that section. So is that something that has been worked out, or?
No, it would, again, as part of the zoning, these are their proposals, because we do have to deal with another entity, in this case, the state. If there are restrictions to that, obviously, the tree plan would be modified accordingly.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Gould?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve item 4D, 2019-95, zoning request Z19-006, rezoning from OI to OI-PD to add a medical office building and new parking for Emory Hospital on 12.69 acres, land lot 552-3903, 3949, 3969, South Cobb Drive, the Emory Clinic.
Second.
Motion is second to approve this zoning request. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Let's approve 6-0. Thank you very much. Sorry you had to wait. We're still here. Y'all can go, though. Thank y'all. Can't wait till y'all open up. Item E, 2019-106, public hearing, zoning request Z19-007, modification of currently approved site plan and building elevations for Riverview Landing, 16.859 acres, land lot 58, 171, 172, 175, 174, 175, Riverview Road and Nichols Drive. The Ardent Company, I know they're here in the back. They've been waiting patiently. Miss Tammy Sadler Jones, the background, please.
The Ardent Properties LLC is requesting a rezoning amendment to modify the currently approved site plan and building elevations. The zoning of the subject property was amended on March 20th, 2017 to a new site plan and building elevations. The proposed amendments would modify the mixture of housing units as well as provide new commercial retail opportunities within the development. Community Development recommends approval of the zoning amendment to modify the currently approved site plan and building elevations with conditions, and Rusty Martin is going to provide more info.
Mr. Mark.
I'm just going to apologize on the front end. There's a little bit of history that we need to go through, and the composition of mayor and council's changed since 2013 and 2017, so I think it's probably beneficial for everybody to rehear. Just to orient you guys to the site, this is a zoning vicinity map. The orange outline property is the overall Riverview Landing development. This specific zoning change or zoning amendment is the area that's highlighted in blue, the smaller area that's sort of in the center of the site. And we'll go through this more as we work through the property. That little area is approximately 16 acres in size. The applicant is proposing to modify the site plan, which would result in 48 single-family homes, 118 townhomes, 580 multifamily units, and 17,680 square feet of commercial and retail. And those are the final outcomes, and we'll get to how we got to those numbers and how the request has changed over time. The future land use for the site is mixed use. That will remain unchanged, and everything to the north, east, and south and west is all going to remain mixed use and is part of the Riverview Landing development. Here's the history of the site. The site was originally zoned on March 15, 2011 by Cobb Board of Commissioners by a vote of 4-1. That original zoning permitted 155 single-family residences, 332 townhomes, 165 condominium units, 200 senior housing units, and 850 apartment units for an overall development of 1,700 residential units and 190,000 square feet of commercial space. That development was so large, it went through the DRI review before zoning. So the Atlanta Regional Commission and Greta had an opportunity to review the site plan and address any future traffic impacts and make recommendations for that zoning plan. Between the Cobb County zoning and annexation into Smyrna, the applicant pulled a permit with Cobb County. They demoed some of the existing buildings on site and removed some debris that was buried on site and graded a portion of the site. Then in November of 2013, the applicant or the property owner at that time requested to annex into the city of Smyrna. And with that zoning case, we carried over the zoning conditions and the site plans all approved by Cobb County and brought it in as the exact same project from the county at that point. From that point, the property owner at that time submitted to do the road improvements along Riverview Road from just south of Nichols Drive all the way up to Dickerson Drive. They just completed those improvements this fall. They got a little delayed because they were having to deal with Colonial Pipeline and trying to cross that pipeline. So it took some time. Then in 2017, in March, a new property owner purchased the property, and then they came in for a zoning amendment to modify the original zoning plan. That modification took the residential units from 1,700 units down to 608 units, and basically took it from 65 single-family homes, 233 townhomes, and 310 multifamily units, and then 3,000 square feet of commercial space. So it was a considerably smaller development at that point. Since that approval, the 310 multifamily units are currently under construction, and hopefully by the end of summer, middle of summer, we'll start issuing the first COs on some of those buildings. This is just a table showing you the changes through the different phases in zoning requests. So the first box on the left is showing you all the density numbers for the original application. This box in the middle is showing you the density outcomes for the first zoning amendment, and then finally the density outcomes for this request that's before you guys today. The zoning proposal will increase the multifamily units from 310 units to 580 units for the total site. That's a plus of 270 units. It'll decrease the townhomes from 233 units to 188 units. So they're losing 45 townhome units, and then decreasing the single-family homes from 65 units down to 48. And that'll be there'll be 17 less single-family home units. And finally, they'll increase the commercial floor area from 3,000 square feet up to 17,000 square feet, more or less, by adding approximately 14,500 square feet of floor area for commercial use. The zoning proposal will result in a net change of 208 residential units and 14,000 square feet of commercial space. This is the currently approved site plan, and we'll walk through this, and all the density units are on the side, and we'll show you where they're located. These are the 65 single-family homes, the 233 townhomes, 310 multifamily units. That's the location of the central stormwater detention facility. And then the 12 acres of linear park along the Chattahoochee River. The zoning request tonight is mainly being located in this area, and it's basically going to affect 99 townhomes out of the development. So you're going to remove the 99 townhomes and replace it with a 270 unit multifamily development. These are the currently approved townhome elevations, just to give you an idea of what was already approved. And this is the proposed site plan. So as you can see, everything's being centered around Nichols Drive, Riverview Road, and the river. This development is broken up into two pods, Pod A1 and Pod D. Pod A1 has 124 multifamily units, 5,000 square feet of commercial retail, and 7,000 square feet of live-work units. Pod D has 146 units and then 2,500 square feet of commercial space. And I'll show you where all these components are located. As we work from the river north, or I guess it would be west, along the river you have two 4-story buildings, one with 66 units, another with 58 units. And then across Nichols Drive, you have a 4 to 5-story building with 64 total residential units. And then as you move further north, you have a 4 to 5-story building along Nichols Drive with 34 units, and then a 3 to 4-story building along the pond with 48 units. The commercial is located in these locations. you got 5,000 square feet of commercial area along the river, and 7,000 square feet of live-work area on that building along the river. And as you jump across Nichols Drive, that should say 2,500 square feet of commercial retail area. These are their amenity areas that they're planning for this community. So you have a amenity area between the buildings along the river, and then you have a deck and seating area along the building on the north side of Nichols Drive. This structure is a one-deck parking deck. So you'll access that deck from the northernmost drive, and then the drive that's in between the northernmost drive and Nichols Drive, you'll be able to circle through that deck beneath it. There's no ramp to access that. So you come from the top, and they're using the grade to provide additional parking. Here's the proposed building elevation. So this is the architecture they're proposing for this development. And this is the building that would be along the river at that intersection with Nichols Drive. And then they give you what their idea of the park's going to look like from that building. With this request, the applicant is proposing to provide a public restroom, and they're showing the location at their at the public parking area to the park. And more or less, this may be the final location, or it may change depending on the location of the floodplain. We may have to move it a little bit closer to Riverview Road. This is the site as it is today. It's vacant. There's no buildings out there. And then these are pictures of the adjoining property and the multifamily building that's going up. Community Development is recommending approval of the zoning amendment with the zoning conditions carried over from 2017. I'm not going to read all those conditions. There's 70 conditions. However, we did modify 5 conditions to adjust the dates of the plans that were submitted and adjust the info within the documents. And then we added 10 additional conditions to deal with site access for fire, for the fire department, and water and sewer improvements, and other stuff like that. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Anybody have any questions of Rusty? Rusty, thanks for that background. You're right, a lot of folks weren't up here whenever we started this project. So. All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here, I know the applicant's here, is anyone here that's in opposition to, or that would like to make any public comment concerning this rezoning request? Let the record show there is no one here. Mr. Garvis Sams, and this is in Mr. Ron Fennell's district. And Mr. Sams, I would just suggest that Mr. Martin has made a wonderful presentation, and it's late in the evening. He's not listening. So.
I may have handed you mine.
This doesn't clock him out.
I'm prepared to say the following words, Mr. Sams. Move approval.
First of all, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I've enjoyed. Usually, we're at the top end of the agenda for whatever reason, but thank you for being patient with everyone that's appeared before us, and I will not take an inordinate amount of time. I'll take much less time because I do have someone I would like to say something as well. I do represent Ardent in connection with this, and I have with me tonight Mr. Greg Goldenberg of Ardent, Mr. James Bykoff of Ardent, also Mr. Chuck Young with Presswood Properties. He's here with us tonight as well. Our engineers are not allowed to stay up this late, so they had to go on home, but we are pleased to be before you. This is an application. I do have to at least give a little bit of a tee up. Rusty did a great job, and I want to thank him for not reading out 25 pages of stipulations. But I've been involved with this project for a decade, since fall of 2009, when Jamestown first came to me with their brainchild for a new urbanistic development, over 2 million square feet of mixed-use components. It's quite impressive. It belongs on Krog Street or Pond City Market or perhaps in other more urban areas. It didn't quite fit here from the market perspective. So you can see the vision has changed, but Mr. Goldenberg and Mr. Bykoff and of course Mr. Young have brought that vision to fruition. Rusty's correct. We were approved in Cobb County in 2011, annexed into the city here in 2013. You changed the overall complexion of this in 2017, as he has outlined. I won't go through the breakdown of the components, but I will tell you that this has got everything I think that you wanted to see. That Ms. Anulowitz and Terry Anulowitz and others said, well, golly bum, we're missing the commercial part of it. Well, we've got 5 times the commercial that we had when we were before you in 2017, and we're quite proud of that because it's all river-driven commercial. It's really cutting edge, and even though it's on the river, it is almost new urbanistic in terms of actually leveraging the river and its aesthetics and its eco qualities for our purposes. What you've seen the pictures of that's presently under construction, this is called the Eddy at Riverview Landing. It has an expanded riverfront park, a lineal park. You've got more presence with this than any other place within the city limits. As far as that, you've got live, work, play storefronts in a public park. You've got EV charging stations, partnership with the Chattahoochee Riverkeeper, and then these outstanding images that I've handed out showing also, of course, the amphitheater and all the other components. Long story short, this complies with your future land use map, with your staff's recommendations, and we do respectfully request that you recommend approval. I'd like to introduce at this time Mr. Chuck Young, who is the multifamily developer and has done a fantastic job, and we'll cut short the shortest presentation I've ever made. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members.
Thanks. Great. Can they see it? Sorry.
There you go. Yeah, they'll put it up there.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak on the project. I am with the multifamily developer. We're currently doing the first phase of development out there. Many of you have toured it. Thank you for taking the time to do that. We are, and we'd also be the developer for the second phase. Before I begin, I just want to take a moment to thank you. My wife and I, Kathy, we live in Smyrna. We have 2 kids. The oldest is one of the basketball teams that was recognized earlier, so thank you for that.
So both children are in the back?
Yes.
Are they being punished?
Yes.
Okay, good. Take your time.
Really just, and at the mayor's request, I think we're just going to cut to the chase here. You saw plenty of update photos. Anyone's been out there or driven by, lots of stuff going on. We hope to open this summer. There'll be a press release this week about this, but we have a Reformation Brewery, Chattahoochee Coffee Company, and Grand Champion Barbecue all signed leases, all submitted for permit this week. Actually, 2 of them have already. The last one will shortly. They're all scheduled to open in August with everything else. Really, destination retail, we're really excited about that. And I did a bunch of construction photos. Here's the pathways going in the park. Landscaping hasn't gone in yet, obviously. But exciting things there. And with phase 2, we're just going to build more green space, more pathways, more retail, continue our relationships with Chattahoochee Riverkeeper. We want to do all kinds of events there, sponsor river cleanups. We're really excited about it, and we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Short and sweet. Anybody have any questions? That was excellent. Mr. Fillon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a long time coming. I want to congratulate and thank Garvis Sams for his diligent decade of work on this project to get us to this point. I also want to thank Mr. Young and his family. Very proud of that family. They're neighbors of ours. And my very first campaign, she probably doesn't want to admit this, but the very first campaign I ever waged for public office She helped me win it back in antiquity, but when she was just a child. That was so. But thank you, and thank you for the commitment that both your company and Ardent has placed confidence in Smyrna to show our future, and we appreciate that. This is a thoughtful, diligent plan, a lot of details. I don't think the average Smyrnan understands that we are a riverfront community, but they're going to very shortly, and I'm looking forward to that big splash where they get to see that through this development and your vision of the community going forward. Mr. Mayor, it is with great pleasure, therefore, that I move approval of the zoning request Z-19007. That's Ward 7, by the way. Modification of the currently approved site plan and building elevations for Riverview Landing for the 16.859 acres, land lots 58, 171, 172, 174, 175.
Second.
Riverview Road.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 6-0. Thank y'all very much for waiting, and you're dismissed, Garbus. Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all. Previous licenses we have, we do not have any. Item 6 is formal business. A, 2019-135, approve the license agreement for the First Response 911 software from Milan Tech, Inc., doing business as DataTech 911, 9250 Bendix Road, Suite 1030, Columbia, Maryland 21045, in the amount of $7,500 that will allow for a direct CAD ambulance dispatching and allow the mayor to execute all related documents. Ms. Tammy Sadler Jones, the background, please.
The Smyrna Police Department realized the need to have the capability for direct CAD dispatching for ambulance services to allow the E911 dispatchers to provide guided medical care prior to the arrival of EMS personnel. The budgeted software in the amount of $7,500 called First Response 911 meets that requirement and is provided by Elon Tech Incorporated, DBA DataTech 911, which is a sole source provider. The Smyrna Police Department recommends approval of the license agreement for First Response 911 in the amount of $7,500 and allow the mayor to execute any related documents.
Mr. Derek Norton, who chairs the Public Safety Committee. Mr.
Thank you,
Norton.
Mr. Mayor. I think I've got the easiest thing on the agenda so far this evening. All this is doing is just improving our emergency response in the city, and if there's no comment or questions, I'll make a motion to approve item 6A, approving the license agreement for the First Response 911 software from Milan Tech doing business as DataTech 911, and for the mayor to execute all related documents.
Motion is second to approve this license agreement. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 6-0. Item B, ordinance 2019-10, approve the amendment to the City of Smyrna Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, entitled Courts, Section 34-38A and B, to amend the municipal court technology surcharge amount to $6.50 per citation. Ms. Tammy Sadler Jones, the background, please.
The municipal court of the city of Smyrna has jurisdiction over certain misdemeanor offenses and city code violations, city ordinance violations, for which fines are collected. Section 41 of the Charter of the City of Smyrna authorized the mayor and council to enact and enforce ordinances imposing penalties on those individuals in violation of laws and ordinances. The proposed ordinance amendment allows the municipal court to impose a technology surcharge in the amount of $6.50 per offense. The current surcharge is $5 per offense. The technology surcharge is to be in addition to all other fines, fees, and surcharges imposed by the municipal court and documented in the bond and fine schedule. All revenue derived from the technology surcharge shall be utilized by the city to provide technology support for either city law enforcement, probation functions, or municipal court functions. The city clerk, Terry Graham, recommends approval of this ordinance amendment.
This is Ms. Marilyn Blackman, who chairs the Court Services Committee. Ms. Blackman.
Thank you, Mayor. With that, and I do understand that this is definitely something that we need to do to kind of keep in line with what the other cities are doing as it relates to this technology surcharge. So I would like to move for approval of item 5B, ORD 2019-10, approve the amendment to the City of Smyrna's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, entitled Courts, Section 34 through 38A and B, to amend the municipal court technology surcharge amount to $6.50 per citation.
Second. Have a motion second to approve this amendment. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Everybody vote? 6-0, so approved 6-0. Item 6C, formal business, 2019-147. Approval to enter into an agreement with Courtware Solutions, Inc., CSI, 5917 Edenfield Drive, Suite 110, Ackworth, Georgia, for the Assure upgrade to the current Courtware software system in the amount of $5.50 per paid citation, and allow the mayor to execute all related documents. Ms. Tammy Sadler-Jones, the background, please.
The Municipal Court Technology Fund was established in April of 2006 to enable court services to purchase court software. An ordinance was drafted for a surcharge to be in addition to all fines imposed by the municipal court and documented in the bond and fine schedule. There was an additional $1 per paid citation allocated to this fund for ongoing technology needs, like the request to upgrade our current Courtware Solutions software. Moving Courtware to the cloud will release space on our city's server. Courtware will maintain and provide assistance for any software issues. The city clerk recommends approval of the agreement with Courtware Solutions Incorporated in the amount of $5.50 per paid citation, and allow the mayor to execute any related documents.
This is, once again, Marilyn Blackman, who chairs the Court Services Committee. Ms. Blackman.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I would like to make a motion to approve item 6C, 2019-147, approval to enter into an agreement with Courtware Solutions, Inc., CSI, 5917 Edenfield Drive, Suite 110, Ackworth, Georgia, for the Azure upgrade to the current Courtware software system in the amount of $5.50 per paid citation, and allow the mayor to execute all related documents.
I have motion second to approve this agreement. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Approved 6-0. Item 6D under formal business, 2019-146, approval to approve RFP 19-017, multi-use trail at North Cooper Lake Park to American Ramp Company, doing business as Progressive Bike Ramp, 601 South McKinley Avenue, Joplin, Missouri, 64801, in the amount of $320,375.68, and allow the mayor to execute all related documents. Ms. Tammy Sadler-Jones, the background.
Parks and Recreation requested proposals for construction of a multi-use trail system at North Cooper Lake Park. The city was awarded the 2017 Recreational Trails Program Grant administered by the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, and funds will be used for this project. 9 firms attended the mandatory pre-bid conference, and only one firm, Progressive Bike Ramps, submitted a proposal. I'm sorry, it's late. Progressive Bike Ramps has provided an innovative and turnkey solution for this project. It is the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Director and the Purchasing Manager to award RFP 19-017 multi-use trail at North Cooper Lake Park to American Ramp Company, DBA Progressive Bike Ramps, in the amount of $320,375.68, and allow the mayor to execute any related documents.
Ms. Susan Wilkinson, who chairs the Parks and Recreation Committee. Ms. Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'd like to move to approve item 6D 2019-146, approval to award RFP 19-017, multi-use trail at North Cooper Lake Park to American Ramp Company, doing business as Progressive Bike Ramps, at 601 South McKinley Avenue, Joplin, Missouri, 64801, in the amount of $320,375.68, and allow the mayor to execute all related documents.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 6-0. Item 7, commercial building permits. We have none. Item 8 is consent agenda. Ms. Jones, will you please read the consent agenda for council's approval?
Consent agenda reads as follows. Approval of the April 1st, 2019 Mayor and Council meeting minutes. Approval of the April 1st, 2019 pre-council meeting minutes. Approval of the March 28th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Item D, approval to allow road closures for the Smyrna Village 10K road race on November 16th, 2019 from 7:45 to 10 a.m. Road closures include barricaded areas on each of the following roads: Powder Spring Street, Village Green Circle, West Spring Street, King Street, and Memorial Place.
Do you hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It's approved 6-0. Item 9, committee reports. We'll start tonight. Mr. Derek Norton.
No report tonight.
Ms. Marilyn Blackburn.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say thank you to all of the constituents of my constituents that came out tonight. Mr. Leonard, thanks for coming and hanging. It's a long night. Once again, want to congratulate the Smyrna Basketball Association for their 2019 wins with the district and the state championship. And congratulations again to the Campbell High School JROTC cadets for their state drill competition. Want to welcome 2 new employees to the city of Smyrna, Starla Whidden and Mary Arvin. Welcome to the family. And also want to just say thank you to KSB for the great work that they did this weekend for the Adopt a Mile cleanup. I understand that we had 170 volunteers that came out, and they collected 200 pounds of litter. That is quite a bit. And I also had an opportunity to speak for the Campbell High School Smyrna Earth Day Festival, or speak at the Earth Day Festival at Campbell High School, and it was really great. I spoke about sustainability and the importance of it to our city, and asked the question of what does a sustainable Smyrna look like to you. Asked them to please get involved, and I asked our community to get involved with KSB. Also, we've got another organization out there, Sustainable Smyrna, that you can also reach out to. So please do get involved in terms of the sustainability as it relates to our city. And the last but not least is, if you missed the grand opening and dedication of Fire Station 2, you really missed out. We had a great celebration on Saturday. It is absolutely an absolute beautiful facility. If you have not had an opportunity to go out and visit, please do go visit the fire station too. And with that, I yield.
Mr. Corky Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to mirror what Marilyn said about the fire station on Saturday. We had a great turnout, and it is really a great facility out there. It's in her ward, but I claim it. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I yield.
Ms. Susan Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have several things to announce. First thing is the library news. The Friends of Smyrna Library will hold their semi-annual used book sale at the Spring Jonquil Festival on Saturday, April 27th, and Sunday, April 28th. They will have adult, teen, and children's fiction and nonfiction books. There will be an excellent selection of music CDs and some record albums for sale this spring. The Friends booth is located in the Village Green Circle in front of the Community Center. Prices range from 50 cents to $6. So hope you'll enjoy that. And then I also would like to announce the Jonquil City Jog on Saturday, April the 27th. It starts at 7 a.m. and goes to 10 a.m. The Spring Jonquil Festival in downtown Smyrna is Saturday, April 27th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, April 28th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. And I also want to acknowledge a new group in Ward 5 that participated in the Keep Smyrna Beautiful or Adopt a Mile on Saturday. And this group cleaned Pat Mel Road from Atlanta to South Cobb Drive, and they sent me a text. I had told them about it on Friday, and they signed up, and they had a crew of about 6 people, and they plan to adopt that part of Pat Mel Road. And with that, I yield.
Mr. Tim Goo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple quick things. As Susan mentioned, the Jonquil Jog is coming up, and that benefits the Campbell High School Education Foundation, along with their annual golf outing, which is Monday, April 29th. So if you have any interest in playing or supporting Campbell High School Education Foundation, please reach out to me or come out and play golf. It's a great event, and it gets you warmed up for the annual Max Bacon golf tournament the following weekend. Arthur Bacon, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ron Fiddle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Even though the hour's late, I do have 3 items, Mr. Mayor. Finance Committee met this afternoon. We discussed a lot of issues and touched a lot of items. We'll give updates in the future, so I won't belabor that tonight. I do want to acknowledge and thank Whitfield Academy for allowing me to represent the city of Smyrna this morning at the groundbreaking of a new facility that they're calling Brostrand Hall, and named for a long-standing teacher and principal of the lower school. That building is going to be just under $25 million. They've raised the money. They broke ground this morning with no debt. I expect that to be open next fall for students. It's exciting. And please join me in a prayer tonight, if you would, for the citizens of Paris, of France, and of the world, for the loss of a great treasure on this planet with the fires at the Cathedral of Notre Dame. If you ever had a chance to go there, you know how special it was. And the world has lost a great treasure and a lot of treasures within. So let the word go forth that Smyrna is commiserating as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Jones, anything else?
I just wanted to remind the public that city administrative offices will be closed on Friday, April the 19th, in observance for the Good Friday holiday.
Scott, nothing? Other Scott, anything? Tina, Terry? Okay. We do not have a show cause hearings tonight. Citizens input, got one person signed up. Leonard Robinson, 1809 Teasley, Sustainable Smyrna.
All right, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and staff. My name is Leonard Robinson, and kind of like Tiger Woods, I'm back. And I just wanted to talk a little about Sustainable Smyrna, a group of passionate citizens that see a sustainable future for Smyrna. We like the direction and like the things that you're doing, and we really want to help. Hopefully you received the newsletter that we put out, the Sustainable Smyrna newsletter, the very first one, our first attempt to kind of communicate what we're doing to put Smyrna on the sustainability map. So you're on the subscription, you can't cancel because it's free. But we would like you to also invite you to come to the meeting this Thursday, April 18th, at Chris's Caribbean Bistro from 6:30 to 8:30. We leave promptly at 8 o'clock, or 6:30 to 8. We leave promptly at 8 o'clock, but if you want to stay around and enjoy the food and have an adult beverage, that's good too. But we do a lot of work. We've got a lot of passionate citizens, and we really want to work with the city of Smyrna. The best sustainability programs in the country are the ones that are heavy with citizen input. You've got a group of citizens. We've broken down to 10 committees. I won't go over them now. And we want to work with you. We want to work with the city as we go to a sustainable future. This all started when Councilmember Blackburn asked a question over a year ago, what would a sustainable Smyrna look like? I think she's liking the answer, and hopefully you'll be liking the answer. So you're invited to the meeting. The next meeting after this one this week is going to be May 23rd on a Thursday, unless we switch it around. Come and meet us, talk with us. We're ready to work with you. Committed citizens. It's kind of like the ham and egg breakfast where the chicken's involved, but the pig is committed. Thank you very much, and keep up the great work.
Does that have anything to do with me? About the pig being committed?
Just a metaphor.
Yes. That's the nicest thing anybody said about me all day.
Okay.
Okay, good deal.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Leonard. That's the only person that signed up for citizens input, so it's 10:04.
I asked one question to clarify earlier. Is that allowed or not?
What's that? Well, I'll let you ask a question. We normally don't, but go ahead. Is it?
I don't even have to have an answer now, but on our meeting on the wall, I mean, I just had a meeting with Matt Younger out there, and the issue still comes back to the right-of-way and the sidewalk, those standard stipulations. So we don't know who we're supposed to meet with the city that even has authority to. I don't know if that's Ken Sutterth or Public Works or whoever it is. And you don't have to answer me now, but maybe Ms. Blackburn will get back to us and just let us know
If
who
you
it
go
is we need to
through
meet with.
the city administrator's office, I think that would be good to coordinate who all needs to be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I wasn't expecting Mr. Unger to say he would hold it off for a month, so, yep. Yeah, I guess that was good. I don't know. All right, good day. Thank y'all. All right, now it's 10:05. And I declare this meeting adjourned at 10:05. You don't need